You're listening to Working Forward, a future of work focused podcast from People Forward Network. These episodes pave the road ahead, helping us confidently step into the future as a leader who moves people forward. After all, the best way to predict the future is to create it. Let's go. Working Forward peeps, it's good to see y'all and hear y'all. Hey, we had an exciting first launch this week with Enrique Rubio and Matt Burns talking a lot about AI disruption in the market right now. We're going to switch gears, and today I'm excited to be with my boss, Nikki Lewallen Gregory, the founder of People Forward Network. We're going to get really practical today and take you behind the scenes of some of the cool stuff we're doing to prepare for the future of work at People Forward Network. And so specifically today, what we're going to do, Nikki, is I want to pick your brain on how you designed and how we run asynchronous meetings. So for some of our listeners, they might even be wondering, like, what the heck is an asynchronous meeting? So let's start there. Tell us about asynchronous meetings. What are they?
Yeah, absolutely. I've been so inspired by the companies that I hear are leading from a flexible first perspective. Like, our people value flexibility. We're attracting more talent because that's what they're looking for. We're all craving that. We want autonomy and flexibility. And we all know the death by meeting thing. Like, why am I on this meeting? What was this meeting for? No one wants that. And how do we work more towards getting away from Zoom fatigue, making the most of our meetings, and then leaning into this concept of asynchronous meetings, like all of that? I've just been so curious. So we've been trying it at People Forward Network. And again, really avoiding the fatigue, making sure the right people are there. The other thing is getting everyone's voice heard. It allows everyone's voice to be heard without time limitation. I love that. And the energy that's come from these asynchronous meetings, most would be like, yeah, those sound boring. It's really not boring. I think Jason can share with you, like, they're pretty darn engaging. It's how we design them. So that's a little bit about the background of why being more efficient, leaning into flexible first. Jason, anything else on how you see like the why behind considering asynchronous for those that are listening?
Well, if I'm listening, there's a lot of good things there as to the why that you shared. The one that really sticks out to me, because it's a bias that I have, I know this about myself, is making sure there are opportunities to respond for everyone on the team.
Yes.
I love to talk. I do. And sometimes I'm talking about stuff that doesn't even have to do with anything in the meeting. I'm like, hey, I just miss y'all. Let's try about this. And it's off topic.
Yeah.
And I need to be reined in. And I know for probably some of our team members, it's like, oh gosh, is Jason doing this again? And so asynchronous gives our team members a break from me talking about superfluous stuff. I can't even say that word. But stuff that sometimes doesn't pertain. And I just think this whole concept of opportunity to respond, I have to be wary of that, because if there's silence, I tend to be one of those people that's like, well, hey, let me throw a joke in here, or, do something. And it's like, no, give space to breathe, give people time to think about things, and then let them be the first ones to respond. And you're so good at this, Nikki. You open up things to be questioned. You'll say, here's a topic. What do you think about this?
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, it's so hard for me to just sit back. Someone will be like, well, let me give my 2 cents. I got some ideas on this. But it's like, no. Give everyone else the space to share their 2 cents.
Yeah.
That's what I need to do, is a better job of listening. And I think asynchronous meetings can really support that.
Yeah.
Giving folks that maybe prefer to not be quite as verbal in meetings, it gives them that opportunity to respond and share their insights and wisdom and experiences that sometimes can be missed in live meetings together.
Yes. Oh, I love it. Okay. So we're leaning into asynchronous. Not only does it lean into our ability to be better with our flexible work, right? And leaning into different time zones and, not conflicting with other meetings, just heck, the scheduling of getting a bunch of people together. But I think the glowing star here is we all get a voice, and all different types of personalities. There's some people that just need more time to digest and think before responding. Other people have a lot to say, and it just gives all of us an opportunity at an equal playing field. So love everything that you just said. And so, Jason, I think if we talk about, for those listening that want to try this, feel free to reach out to us and we can give you our frameworks that we've been trying so far. By no means are we masters at this yet, but they're working. And so we could share some of those templates. But let's talk about the foundational building blocks of how to have effective asynchronous meetings. So I think one is setting the expectations. So an expectation for our team is, since we have taken away from the actual time blocks for an entire hour of meeting, when doing these asynchronous, which you can kind of do on your own, making sure that you're getting it done by a certain deadline time. Like, hey, we're going to post the asynchronous where we want this to be done by the end of the day, and setting the expectations, all need to contribute. So here's the deadline of when we need you to respond by, and this is a norm for every single person on our team to contribute. Otherwise, this isn't really helping us to advance our meeting because we're not hearing from everyone. And that's the point. We want to hear from everyone. So I think the expectation setting is really key as one of the building blocks. Number 2 is choosing the right tool to use for your asynchronous. So for us, our best communication platform where we are very regularly, the majority of our time collaborating as a team, is Slack. So because Slack already works, we're going to use Slack. We're going to dedicate a channel that is for our asynchronous meetings. That's the way we've done it. So whatever it is that you're doing, new initiative wise, let's say it's bringing a internal podcast to your organization. Well, you want to think about, where are our people currently communicating? We're going to want to bring a lot of that communication into the channel they already are. Whatever it is you're doing, you want to think, what is the tool where our people already are that we want to bring this in and build this inside of where we already thrive, rather than introducing something new with a new concept. For us, it's Slack. You could think about, I know some people use Voxer. I've heard there's a really cool way that they're doing, asynchronous with a couple companies I know on Voxer. Maybe it's through like a software like a Monday.com. There's an innovative way to use your work management that you're doing your asynchronous. Wherever it is, use the right tool for your team. I think that's the second building block. I think number 3 would be structuring your asynchronous meeting with very clear communication outside of the expectation that all are here to participate. And here's the deadline that we need you to communicate by and do your participation. Really giving clear communication. For example, ours that we're happy to share with you if you want to reach out to Jason or myself. I think there's typically 5 sections, and we post in our asynchronous channel with 5 different sections rather than just posting all 5 with one post. So people can then chime in and comment in the comment thread related to that one topic. So topic number 1, it's all organized and everybody's collaborating on that topic number 1 of the 5 topics in that chat thread. So really communicating clearly how we're doing this, making sure that the communication is in the right sections and leading the way on the clarity of how to use that. Jason, those are, I think, my 3 building blocks that I'd love to share to get started. What am I missing?
No, those are perfect building blocks. So what I'm going to do real quick too, Nikki, is to show everybody kind of what this looks like. Like you mentioned, we lean on Slack. We do it in Slack. But as Nikki mentioned, there's so many other tools that you can use for this, for collaboration. Once you've got the template, like the types of things that need to be in your agenda, then it's simply a matter of prompting, reminding people that throughout that day, whenever it's due, that they need to go in and put their comments or ask their questions on whatever those topics are that you're working on together. But here, what I want to do is a screen share. I want to show you real quick behind the scenes for us in Slack of kind of what this looks like. Some of the magic sauce here. So we have a very consistent structure, as you'll see here. We start with kind of like a fun little icebreaker. Ours this last time was, if our team had a theme song, what would it be? And so it's just a cool way that everyone can kind of like, think about this. It's a fun little question everybody can contribute to. Then we also have a section that we call headlines. This is where we want people going in and specifically putting in what are some of the big things that have happened over the course of the last week that's important for everybody on the team to know about. Then we have kind of like our sprint reviews, which are goals for each month that we're going on. Then we actually get into the agenda items. What are the things collaboratively, the problems that maybe we need to solve together? Those go in here. and we prompt people in terms of providing their thoughts and guidance on those things, and they reply to it. And then at the end are, what are the to-dos? What are the things that maybe we, coming into this meeting, we know everyone on the team needs to be doing these things. And so that's a little bit of the magic sauce of how we do it. One extra tool that I'll share that is free that could probably get the same job done is Google Docs. So even though we do ours in Slack and we prefer to do it that way, if you're running on a pretty slim tech stack at your company, but if you have Google Docs, you can just have a running Google Doc that has those different types of sections that we just showed you for the asynchronous meeting. And then it's a collaborative doc, right? You share it with the people who need to be contributing on that document, and you can do that. And then if you keep that as a running document where, hey, the next time at the top, we're going to put the next asynchronous meeting that we have, then people can go back and see the previous stuff from the previous meetings. But those 3 building blocks that you shared, Nikki, that's it. It really isn't complicated. I think the biggest challenge is feeling like giving yourself permission, like, is it okay for us to do this? Do we feel kind of dirty instead of meeting in person all the time? Is it okay for us to do an asynchronous meeting? Because you get locked into those habits so much, right?
Yeah.
That at first it was just kind of a shock, like, yeah, we can be just as productive.
Yeah.
Shifting half of our team meetings over to asynchronous.
Yeah.
It's been really successful, but it did kind of require some mental gymnastics there at first, I think, for all of us to be like, oh, is this okay? Are we breaking some rules by not meeting every Tuesday in person? But all those building blocks are so solid. And to illustrate that it really is a simple process once you put a little time and thought into it. Then the execution of just helping people remember how to do it, getting them access to whatever tool or form that you're going to use is really big.
I love that you shared an example for those that get to watch this. And it made me think about, the building blocks are how we structure this for successful setup of execution. And then from a productive asynchronous meeting, I think a couple of components that you shared that I just jotted down as you look through the agenda that's working for us. Our icebreaker, I'll say that again. Our icebreaker is typically very fun and engaging. It's energizing. It kicks off the meeting. Like it was so fun to see everyone's songs. I was like on YouTube. I was like, ooh, let me see these lyrics because, thinking for the future, like this could be something fun we use for marketing or opening meetings. So it was just a fun way to kick off. Number 2 is every organization needs over communication. You can never communicate enough to get people up to speed. There's like a saying that until people hear it 7 times, I've heard that so many times. I don't know the exact statistic, but it's a lot. We have to hear updates a lot. It's not that one email, someone may have missed the email or they read it and they took it out of context. So the news and update section is us to reiterate, hey, progress on this. I talked to, Mr. Smith, and he decided that he's going to shift his contract to this by this date. Hey, here's the link to our new project management board for X client on whatever we're doing. So we are just regularly making sure that our team over communicates. The key is clarity. We all want to be clear, and then regularly, all as a team, not just one of us, updating from every seat on the team what is happening. To be crystal clear across the board. The goals. So, we are taking a different approach this year with our monthly sprint goals. How many times do you do annual planning? You spend so many weeks, months, whatever, and then you finally get it out there and the thing changes by the time you're going into Q2 anyway. And so I love Agile. And I love shifting and changing, but we've broken this down where we used to say, hey, link to our annual goals here. Let us know if you have questions. It's like, dude, I got to scroll forever. So much here. So we have a focus of less than 5 goals. And this is the main focus for the month. It's reminding people, it's giving progress updates, it's asking for help to advance those goals. But it's like that section I would call focus. It is the focus section, keeping everyone laser focused on the main things. And then Jason, to your point of like using a Google Doc as one way that you could collaborate asynchronously. That's brilliant. I know a number that use that function really well. Any kind of collaborative document, you think about in your agenda item section, what would be the things that are going to help you be very productive? Okay, there is a problem that we're looking to solve. wow, wouldn't it be helpful if we could hear from everyone? Because you can on the async, you set that as your expectation. This is the problem we're trying to solve. I would love everyone's input on this problem. Then you're getting everyone's perspective to solve a problem. Or maybe there is a need to advance a deliverable for a client. And it's like, if only everyone could spend 10 minutes doing a little research, can you find 2 resources for this client on this? And then it is a project that we're all advancing. And it's like, oh my gosh, everybody gave a little bit of time. And if we spread that out, and let's say that 10 team members give 10 minutes. Well, if you do the math, and it's like, if one person had to do all that by themselves, rather than splitting the load up, it's like, dang, you can get so much done in 10 minutes with everybody collaborating. So just really thinking about your agenda items to solve problems or advance like goals or efforts that you're doing, just to get the most, because you're going to get everyone's input because you're setting that expectation.
That's so good. And, if we zoom out on this, Nikki, I know, maybe for some folks that are listening to this, think asynchronous meetings, that kind of sounds preposterous kind of thing. But just think, several years ago, it was preposterous that most of us were working from home.
Yeah.
And we had to figure it out, right? It was like, okay, well, a lot of folks may no longer be working from home. We got to figure out how to do hybrid schedules or how to do, remote first type schedules and figure that out. I think this is another evolution of us having to figure things out in terms of how we work, is that because we have more distributed teams, some people may be in the office, some people may be out in the field, some people may be at home. Thinking about how we elevate and evolve the way that we've done meetings, traditionally in-person meetings, is just a natural extension of like, hey, there is a way to run successful asynchronous meetings so that regardless of where you are in the world, whatever location you're in, whatever time you're working, whatever your schedule is like that day, that you can contribute, that you can be caught up to speed, that you understand what are the really important things that need to be covered this week with your team, that you have a clear understanding of what are the clear to-dos of things that you need to come away with, of things that need to be done, and that always doesn't have to be done in person. So I hope that's one of the takeaways today for a lot of our listeners is when you think about the future of work, that also means that some of the practices of things that we do, just like we talk about performance management, quote unquote, has evolved. Just like we talk about onboarding practices have evolved. The way we think about culture and employee experience, all those things have evolved. Well, even some of like the tactical stuff of how we do meetings, it's evolving. Yeah. And we need it to serve and make sure that we're getting well-rounded meetings, well-rounded input from everyone on the team, regardless of where they are, when they're working, what they're working on, and things like that. And Asynchronous is definitely doing the job for us at PFN.
Yeah. And Jason, I was thinking to lean into our shared way of being. We're very innovative, think outside the box. Nothing's ever in the box. And I just wanted to think from a industry perspective. There are sometimes limitations on, well, there would be no one day of the week that we would be able to do this. Like it just with our business, it can't be that one particular day. Mm-hmm. Well, it might be a weekly assignment. It's an asynchronous assignment for the team. You have this shared doc or a place in Slack or wherever you do it. And you're giving the expectation of, I need everyone to participate. And here's the deadline, but it might be multiple days before that is due. It doesn't have to be like, here's our team day to do this. So just thinking outside the box there. I was trying to think of others, Jason, that are like the way you do this and how it might apply to different, like, just so it's not like in a box to reply to, anyone that might want to try this. What else comes to mind for you?
I think that's a great one. That's a good call out. That some it may be a weekly type thing, because there are some industries where folks may be tethered more to locations, or they may be more out in the field, and it may not be possible for all of that to be wrapped up in one day. To be like, hey, this is the day for the asynchronous meeting. This is when stuff has to be done. But the other thing too, I think that could be a natural extension of this. I'm seeing it in schools already with my sons, and that is this concept of flipped classrooms. It's really fascinating. So I'm guessing, Nikki, for you, similar to me, was when you went to school, and during the time you're at school, your teacher is teaching you the lessons. Then when you come home, you're doing the homework. Uh-huh. This concept of flipped classrooms is the complete inverse of that. When you're at school, That's when you're doing the homework, you're doing the collaborative deep work, the actual lessons, the snippets and stuff, the things that you need to watch on video, you do that at home.
I love that.
Isn't that cool?
I'm not familiar with that, but this is such a great example of you're reverse engineering towards the end result of where to spend the time to get to the impact, right? Oh my God.
That's exactly right. And it's like that time together in the classroom is gold. So why would you use it on everyone just sitting in their seat individually listening to the same lecture? Like everyone can do that at home on their devices and watch the video of the lesson. Use that time together on the high impact stuff, the collaborative work, the experimenting, the asking the teacher questions as you're working on whatever it is that you're doing, right? And so even in our schools, I think we're starting to wise up a little bit that just the way we've always done things in terms of learning, in terms of collaborating, in terms of meeting, what we use our time for is changing.
Yeah.
And so to me, bringing this back to what we've been talking about today with asynchronous, what if at some point, the asynchronous meeting is the way that we're doing learning and development in organizations, right? It's like, and you're putting in clips of YouTube clips on certain types of topics. And so maybe it's less dependent on a learning management software type system. And it's more, hey, the way that we run these meetings is on certain types of topics, problem solutions, things that we're coming across. And then here's some of the content to be looking at ahead of time, kind of thing. So it really is. It's one of those practices that seems a little daunting at first, but once you figure out what those core areas are, once you figure out how you're going to deliver it, and then how you're just going to get everybody involved, those are the 3 ingredients you're talking about. Do it, practice it, you'll get better at it. And I think what you'll notice is there's not only value in doing it now, but these other things we've talked about that are probably coming into the future. It's going to enable you to kickstart some of those things, kickstart the way that you do learning and development, kickstart maybe the way that you're doing check-ins. If you're a manager, the way that you're checking in with your people, maybe that can be done asynchronously as well at times if you're frequently checking in with folks. So the different permutations and combinations of this, of how this type of format and structure can be used is pretty cool. What are some of your closing thoughts and ideas, Nikki, on asynchronous meetings?
Yeah, I think, if this speaks to you, where I would love to hear from everyone on my team or on a team within our company, I want everyone's voice shared to get their input. This is a solution for that. We're really trying to lean into more flexibility for our people because they crave that and want that, which is like everyone, by the way. Here's the challenge. Go try one. Reach out to us if we can help you with some agenda ideas. Happy to supply those. Happy to look over the one that you have and, give you some feedback on that. I'm actually really passionate about it right now. I think Jason and I had shared with you. I'm like, I am so inspired by these people that are doing async last year. And I just kept digging in and, reading through and learning. And we just kind of put together some mix of things and tried it. But we've tried quite a few. My challenge to you is try one. If we can help you with the structure for the expectations and what's included, we're happy to do that. But yeah, go give it a try. And then if you want to let us know if you want to come on for an episode in the future, we'd love to break down how it's working for you.
So good. That's a great CTA. And if only we had a community, Nikki, if only we had a community where we could put out some of those resources and share with people. Right. So thank you all for being with us today. This is another fantastic episode with Nikki Lewallen Gregory, founder of People Forward Network, on Working Forward, our Future Work podcast. That's an original podcast with People Forward Network. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks, Jason. This was fun.
Thanks for tuning in to Working Forward. If you like what you hear, please hit the subscribe button wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. Until next time, here's to building tomorrow today.